So today I'm joined by Carol. Carol, just introduce what you do for a living at the current present time, if you don't mind.
Sure, thanks, Nigel. I'm a mindfulness teacher and self-care coach. I've been running a company called Wild Orange for 3.5 years now, so I tend to teach self-care tools, anything that helps people's mental health, really, Nigel.
Awesome, awesome. And what made you get into that? Obviously, I know how you got into that, but what made you get into that? If you can
I
tell.
got into I got into this about three and a half years ago when I launched. Prior to that, I spent 25 years in corporate world, that of a senior project manager in BT.
And obviously, the reason why we're on this sort of Zoom call and this video, creating this video, is because you went through quite a tough time, a transition whilst you was a project manager, going through the corporate world, the corporate curse, if you like, where you neglected your health, your well-being, and self-care. So, just give us a rundown on how that sort of manifested itself for you personally. And obviously, I know that would obviously, a lot of people can resonate with what you're about to tell me, which I already
Sure.
know of. But just share that with other people.
Okay. I mean, it started in 1990, just general, quite enjoyed my job. I was with BT as a sales assistant, and I started out quite okay. I like to work hard. Fast forward 10 years, I'd progressed through the corporate ladder because we're told to work hard and we can get more money, and I wanted to be good at something, I suppose. And looking back, it was I needed to succeed, and I thought success was working hard, being busy. And if I'm honest, I probably carried my stress with a badge of honor.
Hmm.
So I'm going back, and I've got two young children. I was going through a pretty messy divorce at the time. He actually blamed BT at the time, and I couldn't see that's what was happening. I'd neglected my self-care. I didn't
Hmm.
take any time for me. I just wanted to do well. So I
Hmm.
progressed through the corporate ladder. I got busier. I got paid more. I spent more. I
Yep.
drank more.
Yep.
I didn't have time for friends or family. I missed things like the kids' carol concert, the sports day. And I suppose now it was I didn't want to fail. I'd failed at my marriage, or I thought I'd failed at my marriage. I can see now that the marriage failed. Yeah. And then I changed jobs in 2003, pretty much because I'd had a few health problems. I'd ignored my health. I'd not had my checkups. I didn't eat well. I didn't exercise. All the classic things now that I teach,
Hmm.
I did none of them. Didn't recognize that I needed to. I thought I was doing okay. I was doing my job well.
Hmm. How did that manifest itself then into, obviously you know the tools for self-care now, you know how to recognize those signs. How did it manifest itself back then? What sort of physical, emotional responses were you sort of feeling at the time, or how did it manifest?
Yeah, sure. I'll go through. It started with headaches, and I
Hmm.
put that down to being stressed, so I just take tablets. Started with then not sleeping well, so I would just start by going to bed a bit earlier. Still not sleeping well. I had tummy troubles, so I was backwards and forwards to the doctors. I didn't link any of this to stress.
Mm.
I thought stress was just you were busy and you were hectic and you didn't have time to go out of a weekend. I thought that's what being stressed was.
Yeah,
I failed to recognize the physical symptoms,
yeah,
and I also failed to recognize the behavioral symptoms. I was
yeah.
snapping at people, snapping at the kids, snapping at the husband who then became an ex-husband. So I became a single mum, still thinking I was working hard, and the
Yeah,
affirmations from BT told I was doing a good job meant I continued with the ill health for a few more years.
yeah, yeah. Got you. And what, now that you know the signs of that, and obviously you can recognize that looking back, and obviously the self-care you have in place now, how much self-care did you have, and how did that look back then?
Back then, the self-care was having a bottle of Pinot Grigio. That was my self-care.
Yeah.
It helped relax. It helped you relax on a night time. I can see now it would have become a problem, but the other health problems impacted because you start having a bottle of wine, then you become less able to perform the next day. So it was taking me 12 hours to do an 8-hour job. So my whole life was really just working. I couldn't wait for the Friday night where I could just relax. And each weekend was becoming shorter and shorter because you'd start work on a Sunday afternoon to prevent your Monday morning rush, and you'd start work on a Saturday morning to finish the week off. So my weekends became, 6 hours on a Saturday night, and that was showing. I still managed my job. It wasn't like my job performance went down, and I think that's what I'd like to point out. My performance continued, but I had to work longer and harder at it, becoming more and more stressed, becoming more overwhelmed. It was like being on a treadmill, and it was going faster and faster. You've got the kids to see to. I was a single mum. I had to work. The voices in your head go, I have to do it. I have no choice. People would say, why didn't you delegate? Well, at the time, you want to do a good job and you don't want to be seen as a failure. So you keep going. And then in the end, it was a car accident. I broke my ankle. I burst discs in my back. And it wasn't until those physical illnesses became debilitating that I couldn't go to work was when I stopped. I was made to stop by ill health.
Yeah. And how did you feel then at that point when you had that sort of that transition from, the wheels spinning and then told to stop? How did you cope with that?
It was probably the worst time of my life. It was worse than the divorce. It was worse than the loss of my nana. It was worse than the illnesses. It was that feeling of being just so emotionally, psychologically beaten, I suppose. I had no desire to get up. I now recognize that as a sign of depression, but at the time it was just, I had no motivation. I had no energy. I didn't want to do anything. And so for 3 months, I didn't do anything.
Yeah. And what would, if you were never told to stop, how do you think it would have ended?
It's probably no shock probably now to say that I would have deteriorated and been unable to walk. I would have been in a wheelchair. The doctors told me that I would be paralyzed. I would have probably been very, very ill, and probably shortened my life.
Yeah. I probably agree. I would have to agree. We all know that there are successful business people out there, and obviously you were highly successful. And I call it the sort of corporate curse of when people, they spend so much time, energy and effort, but more importantly, their health is a factor that they don't consider with that when they're trying to progress up the career ladder. And I come across a lot of people who sacrifice their health, sacrifice their self-care at the cost of what? And whether you agree whether there's a balance or not, there are parts of your day, chapters in the day when you need to make time for yourself, regardless of how busy you are. You need to prioritize you in your diary, for you and you only, and make sure that's quality time, whether that's gym, nutrition, meditation, yoga, whatever it may be. Given what you know now, what 3 things, because we could talk all day and we've got loads of chapters and, areas of topic of conversation. Give me 3 things that people can take away, short, sharp sound bites of what people could take away from this video. Anyone who maybe felt or feels how you did back then working for, as a project manager for BT, senior project manager, all the delegation roles that you weren't delegating, all that stress, 3 things that people could impact from this video on.
Yeah, sure. one of the key things you touched on earlier, Nigel, no matter how busy we are and we prioritize work, family, food,
Yep.
the single most thing is you must prioritize you, whether
Yep.
that's 5 minutes every hour, whether that's 20 minutes a day. You must prioritize, because the hard lesson for me is, had I not been made to stop physically by the accident,
Yeah.
then if you don't make time for your wellness, you'll be forced to take time for your illness.
Yeah. Classic.
You'll never get your health back, and your health becomes your wealth. So that's the top thing.
Yeah.
The second thing is, if you do have those negative thoughts and those fears, which we all have, we're all human, it's trying to manage those negative thoughts and try and remember that they are only thoughts.
Yeah.
Those thoughts of, I have to do it all, there's only me that can do it, I can't delegate, they're just thoughts. So that's the second thing.
Yeah, awesome.
And probably the third thing I would say is move more. By sitting at your desk, working hard, you do need to move. Whether that's an exercise class, stretching, whether it's a walk, so they would be my 3 top things.
Awesome. Well, the whichever order you put them in, they need to be prioritized for sure. Moving more, managing your thoughts, negative thoughts, and what did we say? The first one was prioritizing you.
Make sure you, yes. Even if people tell me now that they're not even on the list, never mind prioritize.
Yeah.
They
Classic.
think they're at the bottom, you know?
Yeah. Awesome, Carol. Absolutely cracking information for people to take away with. Super excited where the rest of these videos and our conversations are going to go. But for now, that's the first one. I know this will impact a hell of a lot of people I work with and just people in life. Thanks for your time, Carol, and I'll speak to you soon.
Brilliant. Thanks for the opportunity, Nigel.
Cheers,
Take
Carol.
care.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.